What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Another, I think, very odd weekend of football went down this weekend. I got you all covered with all of the games to look at here, and the oddities started on Friday night. Anyways, number 7 Miami squeaking one out at home, 38-34. It took an overturned Hail Mary in order for the Canes to get to 5-0, but they did. So I guess that's something at least. They did drop a spot in the AP poll this week to number 8. Not that that is a big deal or anything, but yeah, did not go anywhere near I thought. Maybe I should have been more conservative and looked at the Hokies on the spread, but it really wouldn't have been this close had Cam Ward been playing like he had been. 3 turnovers in this game let Virginia Tech hang around the whole night. And then the Canes defense really wasn't great either, with allowing Kyron Drones. And Bashal Tootin had an excellent night on the ground, just pounding the Canes on the interior there most of the night. Cam Ward, though, like I said, 63.2%, 343, 4 2 picks, 10 carries, 57 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. So, 5 total touchdowns for Ward there. But like I said, the 3 turnovers, definitely not going to – I don't know. Virginia Tech's a tough team. Brent Pry's a good defensive coach, but not the performance that I thought they were going to have against Virginia Tech here. Kyron Drones for the Hokies, 57.6%, 189, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 9 carries, 52 yards. And like I said, Tootin, he was awesome. 19 carries, 141 yards, lead the game in rushing, touchdown, 4 catches for 7 yards. Damian Martinez, he led the Canes in rushing there. Tight end Elijah Arroyo leading the game in receiving, 2 catches, 88 yards, a touchdown, big long touchdown for him. Other touchdown scores for the Canes: Jacoby George, the wide receiver, Isaiah Horton, tight end Cam McCormick caught a 6 yards touchdown. For the Hokies, it was wide receiver Jalen Lane ran a 20-yard touchdown in. Tight end Benji Gosnell, he had one, as did wide receiver Aiden Green. And Jalen Lane was one of the guys down in the end zone there at the end that had a chance catching the game winner, but was able to do it. Defensively, I'm going to go with Miami linebacker Raul Aguirre Jr., 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Vatek plus 17.5, covered over 55.5, 71. The other game Friday night, Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights are 4-0, 21-18 win over Washington. And Logan got us on this one. He lone wolfed the Scarlet Knights. It was I believe it was a blackout there in New Jersey, but I was impressed. I thought Washington had the people to get it done, and really they would have got it done had they had a kicker. I mean, Grady Gross, man. I mean, his last name says it all. It was Gross. Missed, I believe, 3 kicks in this game, including the game tire. And apparently I didn't really pay too much attention. I was more paying attention to the Miami game, but had this game on as well. And apparently all 3 of the kicks went left. Like, how do you not, correct that. So, I don't know. I don't know how he did not figure it out. Grady Gross, though, to my knowledge, had been a pretty decent kicker for the Huskies throughout his career. But first Big Ten game for the Huskies not go well. But I think there were a lot of stuff to like for Washington, hence why I kind of like them this week as well in Big Ten play. Anyways, that's foreshadowing. Will Rogers, though, 72.2%, 306, 2 touchdowns. Ethan Kaliakmanis for the Scarlet Knights, 58.3%, 115, a touchdown. Jonah Coleman, he's one of the guys, one of the reasons I like Washington, man. I think Washington showed that they have the capability to be a Big Ten type of team where you're able to run the ball and throw it. So, Jonah Coleman, 16 carries, 148 yards, and a 5-yard catch. Kyle Monangai is probably the most underrated player in Big Ten, maybe. Excellent once again, 25 carries, 132 touchdown, 5-yard reception for him as well. Samuel Brown, the fifth, scored on the ground for Rutgers. Wide receiver Denzel Boston led the game in receiving for Washington, 6 for 125, 2 touchdowns. Rutgers wide receiver Ian Strong catching a touch from Ethan there. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Washington linebacker Alfonso Tuputala, 6 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. Rutgers minus 1.5 covered, under 44.5. On Saturday, it started out with a bang. Kentucky getting the upset of the season so far. Maybe they're under NIU. Yeah, I guess I'll put Kentucky seconds right now in terms of upsets on the year here. 20-17 at number 6 Ole Miss is in Oxford, Mississippi, and kind of like Washington. I mean, Ole Miss had a chance to tie the game, and kicker missed it. So, anyways, I don't know what Ole Miss was doing offensively. And Kentucky also had Lady Luck on their side as the fumble for Brock Vandegrift. Or it wasn't Brock Vandegrift. It was the I'm blanking on their backup quarterback that does some wildcat running stuff. When he got hit, and then it popped right to the tight end, Josh Caddis there. Ended up going down as a 2-yard rush because I guess it was technically a lateral. But yeah, I mean, to get that as the game-winning touchdown is just ridiculous as well. But I was surprised Kentucky was not ranked this week after the AP poll came out. I thought they would have been based off their last 2 performances, a 1-point loss to Georgia and a 3-point win at Ole Miss. The defense is for real. I mean, that defense that Mark Stoops has in Lexington is ridiculous. So, I mean, maybe they got to put one more together and get to 4-2, and maybe then they'll be ranked. But I don't know. I think they should be at this point based off how their defense has played. Jackson Dart, though, 66.7%, 261 touchdown, 13 carries, 22 yards. Brock Vandegrift, 64.3%, 243 touchdown there. Henry Paris Jr. for the Rebels led the game in rushing, 62 yards on 13 carries, touchdown, 3 catches, 18 yards. Mentioned Josh Caddis with the game-winning touchdown there. Wide receiver Trey Harris, this guy's a monster, continues to wreck. 11 receptions, 176 yards, touchdown. Did have a fumble, though. Dane Key, Kentucky wide receiver, having a good day. Over 108 for 105 and a touchdown. Defensively, a lot of good defensive performances in this one. But, of course, I got to go with the winning side here. Kentucky defensive lineman Octavius Oxendine. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. 00. Getting it done. Kentucky plus 15.5 wins outright. Under 51.5. Number 12, Michigan, 27-24 over Minnesota. Yeah, I was talking to someone on Saturday night there, and we kind of said the same thing. Is like, yeah, like turned off the Michigan game, or like I stopped like paying attention to it because it like was Michigan was running away with it. Then I look at the final score. I'm like, holy shit, the Gophers made it a game at the end.
Yeah, with a questionable offside penalty on them on an offside kick. Maybe this game could have went the other way if the refs were correct in that.
Oh, you mean if Michigan didn't pay the refs? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh wow, we're at the big house. We got to make sure we win. Can't let that happen.
But yeah, now Michigan's a top 10 team again. I can't wait till they play a real opponent though. Again, like they did against Texas. I will be actually rooting for Ohio State this year. I don't like that, but
welcome to the club.
Yeah, when they play Michigan, I will definitely be rooting for Ohio
Let's
State.
go.
I mean, hey, Ohio State won me money on Saturday night, so that was plus.
That's what we do.
So. Anyways, yeah. Reason I picked Michigan, Logan lone wolfed the Gophers in this one of his 6 on the weekend. But yeah, I mean, the reason I picked Michigan is because I just knew, like, Minnesota, I have not been high on how they play off at. Like, Max Brosmer has not impressed me this year as transferring in from New Hampshire. Did play decent, I guess. 67.5%, 258, touchdown, a pick. Alex Orji, though, I mean, again, Michigan has 0 passing offense. 55.6%, 86 yards, touchdown, a pick, 9 carries for 12 yards. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, like, the next time that Michigan gets down in a game, like, by more than 1 score, to watch and see, like, Alex Orji try to throw the ball. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be fun. Khalil Mullings, big game, over 100 yards on the ground, 24 carries, 111 for 2 touchdowns. Darius Taylor for the Gophers also scoring twice. Massive workload in the passing game, 10 catches for him, only 52 yards, though. Minnesota wide receiver Elijah Spencer led the game in receiving, 6 for 67. Daniel Jackson, the all-world receiver there for Minnesota, touchdown, also fumbled. Wide receiver Tyler Morris for Michigan catching an 11-yard touchdown from Orji. And defensively, I got to go with Michigan defensive lineman Mason Graham, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. High-profile guys for Michigan were eating a lot of the day, Graham and Grant there. Minnesota plus 10.5 covers, over 34.5. Top 25 matchup in the Big 12. Number 23, Kansas State romping number 20, Oklahoma State, 42-20. And again, I don't know. It's just weird things happen in Provo at night. I guess that was the excuse for KSU when they lost to BYU last weekend. Because they were back to the team that demolished Arizona a couple weeks ago on Saturday. So I think that's the true Kansas State. If you play at a normal time and
anywhere, there's a new nightmare.
And anyone other than Provo, I think they can be a really good team. Oklahoma State's got a lot of question marks, though. Again, I'm not a fan of Alan Bowman. I think has an arm talent, but it's. I keep saying this, but I project him as a 6th, 7th rounder. And we know how quarterbacks get pushed up, so that's where I think he will get pushed up into, because he has quality stats as well throughout his career. But he is also an older quarterback, 7th season of college football. So, anyways, Bowman here, 52%, 364, touchdown, 2 picks. Avery Johnson, 61.3%, 259, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 5 carries, 60 yards, 2 scores, 5 total for Johnson on the day. DJ Giddens, how about massive rushing attack? 15 carries, 187 yards, 12.5 yards per carry, touchdown, 22-yard reception for him as well. Oklahoma State was able to get Ollie Gordon going for the first time in a while. Good 5.1 yards per carry there. Trent Howland, the Indiana transfer, scoring a touchdown on the ground for the Cowboys here. Wide receiver Deshaun Stribling. Big receiving day, 7 for 157, a touchdown for the Pokes. Wide receiver Jace Brown for the Wildcats here. He caught a touchdown, as did tight end Garrett Oakley, 19-yard touchdown there. And tight end Will Incho, he caught a 2-yard score from Avery Johnson. Defensively, there was not a ton of stats here. We're going to go with KSU corner Jacob Parrish, though. 7 tackles, 5 solos, 1 pass defense, and a pick. Kansas State, minus 5.5 covered, over 58.5. Number 22, BYU. How about the Cougs? 5-0, 34-28 over Baylor. A little closer than I thought it was going to be. But they still were underdogs for some reason going into Baylor, into Waco, Texas. Don't know why, but I figured the Cougars would win this one coming off. Maybe people thought they were going to have a letdown after the Kansas State win, but yeah, they did not do that. Kalani Sitake's squad getting up there to the top of the Big 12 right now in year 2 in the Big 12. Crazy. BYU's rolling. For Baylor, Sawyer Robertson, 56.3%, 324, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 12 carries, 29 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Jake Retzlaff, good day for him, 54.8%, 216, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 6 carries, 53 yards, and a rushing score. BYU, I guess they were down another running back. Their leading rusher last week was a freshman, I believe. This guy is a sophomore here. Running back Enoch Nawahine. 19 carries, 51 yards. He was 2 yards short of Retzlaff, leading the game in rushing there. And then Josh Cameron, big receiving days for him on the Baylor side. Darius Lassiter on the BYU side. 7 for 125, 2 touchdowns for Cameron, 8 for 120 in a score for Lassiter. Baylor receivers also getting touchdowns for wide receiver Ashton Hawkins and wide receiver Chase Roberts had a 2-yard rushing touchdown for BYU. Miles Davis, the running back, no rushing work, but a 26-yard receiving touchdown there. And defensively, how about BYU safety Crew Wakely? 4 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a pick. BYU plus 3.5 wins outright. Over 46.5. Indiana, baby. Go Hoosiers. They continue to roll. 42-28. Talked about BYU being on top of the Big 12. Well, guess who is leading the Big 10 right now? It's the Indiana Hoosiers. And they are finally ranked this week. Number 23 in the AP poll. Thank you. Yeah. I'm so excited, bro. They're one win away from hitting their season total over. It was 5.5, so I'm feeling really good. Love Indiana right now. They have it going. Curtis Rourke, 66.7%, 359, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a fumble. That's crazy. They won by 14 points. They still their starting quarterback had 3 turnovers there. The defense was outstanding most of the day. And Maryland, actually, this was a lot worse game than it looks. Maryland got, I believe, 7 points in each of the third and fourth quarters to make it a little bit closer. For the Terps, though, Billy Edwards Jr., 63.4%, 289, 3 touchdowns. Really good day for him despite the loss. His running back, Roman Hemby, over 100, 10 carries, 117 yards, touchdown, 5 catches, 48 yards, a receiving score. For Indiana, they got rushing touchdowns from Tyson Lawton and Justice Ellison. I love Elijah Surratt. He is a beast at wide receiver coming in. with the boatload of guys plus the head coach Kurt Cignetti in from James Madison. 7 for 128 and a touchdown for Surratt on the day. His teammates Omar Cooper Jr. and Miles Price getting touchdowns. Cooper a receiving score, Miles Price a 1-yard rushing touchdown. And wide receiver Donovan McCauley also catching a 12-yard touchdown. For Maryland, Edwards touchdowns, mentioned already, one of them went to Hemby there, but then the other ones, Caden Prather and tight end Dylan Wade catching Edwards scores. On defense, I'm going to go with Indiana. Defensive lineman James Carpenter, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. I got to give love, bro, the linebacker Aiden Fisher. He was another one of those JMU guys coming in. Had a great game.
He threw a ball to Justin Jefferson.
Oop.
I don't know.
Justin Jefferson got excited.
I don't know who's throwing balls to Justin Jefferson, but cool. Indiana minus 7.5 covered, over 48.5. 70. Boston College 21-20 over Western Kentucky. How about Billy O'Brien there at BC getting his Eagles to 4-1? Yeah, I mean, even without Thomas Castellanos, we talked about that on Friday, and we're like, why the hell did it go from 13-8 on the spread? And we're like, all right, no Thomas Castellanos. Like I said, no problem. It was almost a problem.
Definitely wasn't sweating this one out.
But yeah, Grayson James, the FIU transfer, they didn't make him do a lot. 59.4%, 168 touchdown, a pick, 6 carries, 11 yards of rushing score. For the Hilltoppers, Caden Veltkamp there, 64.1%, 232, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 9 carries, 16 yards, and a fumble. Western Kentucky running back Elijah Young led the game in rushing, 21 carries, 85 yards, 5 catches, 22 yards. I mentioned it was a Kai Robichaux revenge game. He didn't have a great game, but good enough. 4.5 yards per carry on 18 totes and a touchdown. Western Kentucky tight end River Helms, he led the game in receiving, 4 for 72. Receiving touchdowns for the Hilltoppers went to wide receivers Keyshawn Johnson and Easton Messer. And for BC, James throwing a touchdown to wide receiver Duran Bradley. Defensively, how about the day for BC defensive end Donovan Ezeruaku? 14 tackles for a defensive end, 10 of them solos. And oh, by the way, he just chipped in 3 sacks and 4 tackles for loss. Western Kentucky plus 7.5 covered, under 48.5. Number 13 USC 38-21 over Wisco. I wish Logan would have been on today.
Me too.
I mean, good Lord, Wisconsin was rolling. It was I think 21-7. Or maybe it was 21-14. Whatever it was, Wisconsin had a big lead into the third quarter, and they completely just fell flat on their face. USC got the offense rolling with Miller Moss, and the defense scored as well for USC. And it just they eventually steamrolled them, and even got the cover as well, which is crazy. Miller Moss, though, 66.7%, 308, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 5 carries, 17 yards, a rushing touchdown, and a fumble. For Braden Locke and the Badgers, 50%, 180, 1 touchdown, and a pick. USC running back Woody Marks, he led the game in rushing, 19 carries, 63 yards, 4 catches for 29 yards. Tawee Walker, the Oklahoma transfer, scoring twice on the ground for Wisconsin. USC wide receiver Jacoby Lane over 100 in this one, 10 for 105. 2 scores. His teammate wide receiver Deuce Robinson catching the other touchdown from Moss. And Locke's lone touchdown pass went to wide receiver Vinny Anthony II. Defensively, it's a touchdown guy, USC linebacker Mason Cobb, 2 tackles, 1 solo, and a 55-yard pick six. USC minus 13.5, covered over 49.5. Top 20 matchup here. Number 16, Notre Dame. Squeaking one out, 31-24 over number 15, Louisville. And, we all picked Louisville. And your people made you pay, Jimmy, for not picking
Yeah,
them.
the Irish don't forgive.
I wasn't watching this one, but Louisville, actually, they had I think it was a 13 point lead. It was like 13-0 or something like that. And eventually they got it. And they got 8 points and a field goal in the second half to make it a 1-score game. We just couldn't get the ball back. But yeah, Tyler Schuff, 58.5%, 264, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 5 carries, 36 yards, and a fumble. Riley Leonard, again, this is why I'm hesitant on Notre Dame. They still don't have a passing attack. I mentioned on Friday, Louisville came into this game ranked 99th in coverage grade per PFF. And they only threw for 163 yards when the rushing attack really didn't do anything. Notre Dame had been killing people on the ground, but I also mentioned Louisville is number 3 in rush defense grade. So I don't know. Riley Leonard, 73.9%, uber accurate, but only 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 carries, 52 yards, a rushing score. Guess they did enough on the ground to make it count. But for Louisville, running back Isaac Brown led the game in rushing, 13 carries, 72 yards, 4 catches, 23 yards, and a receiving touchdown. 2 touchdown day for running back Jeremiah Love and the Irish. 1 on the ground, 1 through the air. Louisville wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks led the game in receiving, 5 for 71, 2 touchdowns, tied with his teammate, the South Alabama transfer wide receiver Colin Lacey, 5 for 71. No scores for him. Notre Dame wide receiver Jaden Greathouse, he caught the lone passing, or one of the other passing touchdown from Riley Leonard there. And then defensively, I think my player of the game is going to go Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts. He's a beast there on the back end. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2 pass defense, and 1 pick. Notre Dame minus 6.5. They cover by the hook over 45.5. How about this game? This game was like the USC game pretty much. Auburn losing in just heartbreaking fashion. Number 21 Oklahoma, 27-21 over Auburn, and getting their first SEC win here for the Sooners. I did LOL because I had Oklahoma anyways, so I thought it was quite funny. Logan, this was another one of those lone wolves he had on the Tigers. But both teams switching quarterbacks, and Peyton Thorne had the Tigers rolling, but he became what we've known Peyton Thorne to be in the fourth quarter, which was nice to see. Thank you, Mr. Thorne. 65.6%, 338, 3 touchdowns. The interception that cost him the game, though, and then 17 carries for 23 yards. Michael Hawkins Jr., the freshman, getting his first career start. That's a very difficult place to start, Jordan-Hare Stadium there in Auburn, Alabama. But 66.7% there, 161, 14 carries, 69 yards, and a rushing touchdown. For Auburn, running back Jarquez Hunter, he led the game in rushing, 97 yards on 17 carries, 2 catches for 21 yards. Sooners running back Javonte Barnes getting a touchdown on the ground. OU wide receiver J.J. Hester leading the game in receiving, 3 for 86. Touchdown receptions for the Tigers going to Penn State transfer wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver Malcolm Simmons, and tight end Luke Deal catching a 1-yard score. Defensively, it's the guy that won the game for him. It's linebacker Kip Lewis. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 1 tackle for loss, a 63-yard pick six. I do have to say, though, our Mason Thomas has had like 3 straight games that he's just dominated, especially once Oklahoma got up. They kicked the field goal to make it a 6-point game. Thomas really took over there. I think he had back-to-back plays with sacks pretty much to end the game. Oklahoma plus 1.5 wins outright, over 43.5. Number 24, Texas A&M, 21-17 over Arkansas. I thought Arkansas was going to win. You got us on the Aggies here, but the snoozer of a game. And I don't know. Arkansas is going to be very happy to get this game out of Jerry World, because this was the last one in Jerry World for now, unless they get a new contract done for the game. But yeah, they have not fared well at Jerry World. They've lost now, I think it's 13 out of the last 15 games in this series when it's held at AT&T Stadium. And overall, they don't have a great record against Texas A&M anyways. So, yeah. But yeah, Taylor Green's 56.1% for the Razorbacks, 279 touchdown, a pick, 2 fumbles. I mean, there's your game right there, 3 turnovers for Green. Marcel Reed for the Aggies, just 50%, 163, 2 touchdowns, 10 carries, 13 yards, and a rushing touchdown, though. Got a big game for their running back, Le'Veon Moss, 13 carries, 117 yards on the ground. And the opposite happened for the Razorbacks. They were not able to get Jaquindon Jackson going. He did score a touchdown, but only 37 yards on 10 carries. That was one of my keys to the game, was to run Jackson and get him and Green going in the run game. But Green, as you can see, he doesn't have any listed rushing stats because I believe with the sacks that he took, he ended up with negative rushing yards. For Arkansas, wide receiver Isaac Tesla. I don't know how you say his name, to be honest.
Tesla.
That's how I wanted to say it, but I didn't do that just for people that don't like Tesla. 5 catches, 120 yards, touchdown, lead the game in receiving. Texas A&M wide receiver Noah Thomas, also over 100, 6 for 109, touchdown reception. Also for the Aggies went to tight end Trey Watson, a 5-yard receiving score there. And all 3 of those guys down there had great games in this one. Landon Jackson is a monster off the edge for Arkansas, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. But the guy that won the game for the Aggies, as Arkansas was trying to go down and win, was Nick Scorton, the Purdue transfer, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and a pass defense. Arkansas did cover, though, plus 7.5. Great teams win, good teams cover. Under 50.5. Really small print, I know, because 5 million quarterbacks played in this game. UNLV, my Jesus, 59-14 over Fresno State. Matthew who?
Dude, I stuck with him.
That's what Haj Malik Williams was saying. I don't know who that Matthew guy is, but he ain't here anymore, and this is my team now. And Haj Malik, he went wild to the tune of 81.3% completion, 182, 3 touchdowns. And how about on the ground? 12 carries, 119 yards, and a rushing score. 4 total touchdowns for Williams on the day. The Campbell transfer, taking UNLV to new heights and to the tune of a top 25 ranking this week, tied for 25th with Texas A&M now. So yeah, I mean, this was my Mountain West championship. Disappointing to say the least in the outcome of this, but It'd be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes and if Fresno can get back in it and unseat Boise, who I think is now, everyone's been on Boise most of the season as the Mountain West champion, but I think UNLV kind of opened up some eyes in this game. And now I think it's kind of pretty close between Boise and UNLV, even though Boise is ranked higher. I think Boise went to 21 this week. But now I do think it's Boise and UNLV, and it's like, all right, like if I want my Mountain West championship game to happen, like Fresno's got to get it together. They got to beat Boise. I think they do play. Not completely sure on that, but I think they play this year. So they got to beat Boise in order to get back into the championship mix here in the Mountain West. But anyways, Mikey Keene for the Bulldogs, 65.9%, 316 touchdown, 2 picks. Fresno also played 2 other quarterbacks. It did not go well for either. Joshua Wood, 1 of 3, 0 yards and an interception. Jaden Mandal, he was 0 for 1 with an interception. UNLV also getting their old starter in the game. Cameron Friel had been the starter last year. 1 for 1 for 16 yards and a rushing touchdown. Kylan James led the game in rushing outside of Williams there for the Rebels, 5 for 58. Big workload for their starting running back, Jaden Thomas, 7 carries, 30 yards, a touchdown, caught a 4-yard reception, and how about a 90-yard kickoff return touchdown to boot? Fresno State running back Malik Sherrod, not a good rushing night at all, but he did score a touchdown. Massive night for UNLV wide receiver Ricky White III, 10 catches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oh, and he also played special teams, 13-yard blocked punt return for a touchdown. So 2 pivotal offensive players getting touchdowns on special teams in this game for the Rebels. The Missouri State transfer for Fresno, wide receiver Raylan Sharp, he caught 10 for 116, big night for him. And then receiving touchdowns going to Fresno wide receiver Magdalena, UNLV tight end Kaleo Balungai. He caught a 17-yard touchdown there. And defensively, I am going to go with UNLV linebacker Monty Powell, 7 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Jackson Woodard, he is also a beast inside there at linebacker for UNLV. UNLV minus 2.5 covered quite easily. Over 49.5 by themselves. God, dude, this was so annoying. Logan got us on this one. Duke, 21-20, a monstrous comeback for the Blue Devils and new head coach Manny Diaz. I saw this. I was like, bro, it's 20-zip. Like, UNC is doing great. They got this. They'll be fine. And then they didn't score another single point. I was like, bro, what do you do? Like, what happened? Anyways, Blue Devils making some noise in the ACC here, starting off 5-0. Jacoby Creswell for the Tar Heels, 53.8%, 251, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 7 carries, 26 yards. Malik Murphy, the Texas transfer, 44.1%, 209, a touchdown. But yeah, there's also a rivalry, so it also put that in for Duke. They get one over their intrastate rival there. The New Mexico State transfer, our guy John Babington sent this guy to Duke this year. 30 carries, 166 yards, touchdown, 2 catches, 45 yards, a receiving touchdown as well. Massive night for him. Marion Hampton, dude, this guy's a beast. 2026 draft, I think, is when he's eligible. I'm super excited for him. Oh, nope, he is a 25 guy, actually, I think. I can see here. Yeah, he's a 25 guy. He's a junior this year. So, time flies, man. I remember when he was a freshman and making ridiculous plays 2 years ago. And Now he's draft eligible, so he's up there. Ashton Genty for Boise is kind of like the definite RB1 right now, but I think Hampton's a really solid player. 29 carries, 103 yards, 4 catches for 50 yards there. Duke running back Peyton Jones ran one into the end zone. UNC wide receiver J.J. Jones, he led the game in receiving, 89 yards on 5 catches. Touchdown for his teammate, tight end Bryson Nesbitt as well. Whole host of defensive performances. I am going to go with Duke defensive end Vincent Anthony Jr., 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. Duke plus 1.5 wins outright, under 54.5. Number 1, Texas, 35-13 over Mississippi State. I was highly disappointed. I didn't watch this game at all, but I mean, this is a disappointing score, I thought, for Texas. Mississippi State is literally the worst SEC team right now. And for one, they only scored 35 on them. And for two, this was a 38.5 point spread, and they only won by 22. So, just saying. And it was in Austin, I think, which also is not good to do both of those first two things at home. Anyways, Arch Manning, he was good. 83.9%, 324, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries, 33 yards, a rushing touchdown. But again, it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like what Texas had been doing. So, I don't know. Anyway, Michael Van Buren Jr. for the Bulldogs, 52.2%, 144, rushing touchdown and a fumble. Texas, running back Quintravion Wisner, he led the game in rushing, 88 yards on 13 carries, a 12-yard reception as well. Part of the reason why Texas did not score as many points, probably Jaden Blue. He ran a touchdown in, but he had 2 fumbles on the day. Big loss there for the Horns. Texas wide receiver DeAndre Moore Jr. over 100, 4 for 103, 2 touchdowns. 26-yard rushing touchdown for Alabama transfer wide receiver Isaiah Bond. And defensively, great day for the freshman. Texas linebacker Colin Simmons, 7 tackles, 6 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. I think this kid's got 5 sacks now on the year, something like that. I mean, true freshman. He's destroying people. Mississippi State plus 38.5. Covers under 58.5. Yeah, I had the over, man. I thought Texas was going to absolutely demolish them. Speaking of absolutely getting demolished, Colorado 48-21. Yeah, we all picked the Knights in this one. And Shador Sanders said, "I got you," and was lights out. 80% completion, 293 touchdowns, a pick, 5 carries, 15 yards. Logan, the answer is no. They are not going to rank Colorado again this week. They did not get into the top 25, as he questioned on our group chat. KJ Jefferson there for UCF, 57.1%, 284, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 20 carries, 76 yards, touchdown, and a fumble. Again, it's turnovers. Can't do it, or you're going to lose. RJ Harvey led the game in rushing, 77 yards, 16 carries, a fumble, 4 catches, 92 yards, a receiving touchdown for the Knights running back there. Colorado wasn't able to run the ball at all. I know Augustave, he had 9.8 yards per carry, but only 4 carries for him and only 39 yards. So Dallin Hayden, though, the Ohio State transfer, he did get in the end zone. As did freshman running back Micah Welch. Colorado wide receiver Will Shepard, the Vandy transfer, 99 yards on 4 catches and a touchdown, led the game in receiving. Travis Hunter, I don't know why he did the Heisman pose. I really don't. I mean, he had a great night, and he's had really good nights. I'm still skeptical. I think there are better candidates and guys that have put more eye-popping stats out there so far. Anyways, Travis Hunter, though, he did catch touchdown. He on defense, 2 tackles, both of them solo, pass defense, and a pick. UCF wide receiver Xavier Townsend catching a score. Wide receiver LeJontay Wester, the Hail Mary savior last week, caught a touchdown again for the Buffaloes. And defensively, I'm going to go with Colorado safety Cameron Silman Craig. 5 tackles, all of them solos, 1 pass defense, and 95-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Colorado plus 12.5 wins outright, over 59.5. 69 in that one. Number 17, Clemson keeps rolling, 40-14 over Stanford. And I don't know, man. I think Clemson is they found it. Like, they're not playing very hard opponents. Just saying. But Stanford has been sneaky this year. They got Syracuse last week at Syracuse. And now in Death Valley, Clemson, they took it pretty handily. But Cade Klubnik, I mean, he continues to roll. I know, 48.4%. Not great. However, he did throw for 255 through 4 touchdowns, did have an interception, 7 carries, 48 yards, a rushing score. So 5 total on the day for Klubnik there. Stanford got 2 quarterbacks in the game. Ashton Daniels, 47.4%, 71 yards, touchdown, 3 picks, 11 carries, 87 yards. And then Justin Lamson there, 4 of 8, 50%, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Stanford running back Micah Ford, the one lone bright spot for the Cardinal on the day, 15 carries, 122 yards, 2-yard catch as well. Clemson, freshman wide receiver Bryant Wesco Jr. over 100, 2 for 104 and a touchdown. Wide receiver Cole Turner caught one, as did tight end Olsen Pat Henry and tight end Jake Brenningstool. For Stanford, touchdowns going to, of course, the man himself, wide receiver Alec A.O. Manor, and wide receiver Emmett Mosley the 5th. Have you ever noticed, Jimmy, when you're looking at a game and looking at the box score, like sometimes you don't even have to click on a guy to know what position he plays in terms of wide receiver, tight end?
Oh, yeah.
Like the names just like you can tell by the name that the man is a tight end.
Oh, the guy's name starts with Jake. Yeah, he's a tight end.
Like
immediately, the name Jake. I'm like, yeah, that's a tight end. Robert, no, that might be a tight end.
Olsen, Pat Henry. Like I saw Pat Henry, I was like, yeah, that's tight end right there.
Even better is the next tight end, Jake Brenningstool. Yeah, come on.
Cool, man. He's a beast, though.
That's a tight end name right there. I'm sorry. He starts with Jake. You see a guy with receiving stats with the name Jake or Tyler, you're like, yeah, tight end.
Defensively, I am going to go with Clemson. Another freshman here, linebacker Sammy Brown, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 pass defense. Barrett Carter had a good day for the Tigers defense as well. Clemson minus 23.5 covered, under 57.5. Number 18, Iowa State shutting out Houston 20-0. And yeah, Houston sucks. I already knew that. Good defense for Matt Campbell's Cyclones here. Rocco Becht, 66.7%, 153 a touchdown. Donovan Smith was not good, 66.7%, 71 yards, pick, 7 carries, 47 yards. Zion Chris, even worse, 1 of 4 for 1 yard, a pick, 7 carries, 29 yards. Good 100-yard rushing day for running back Abu Sama III for the Cyclones, 11 carries, 101 yards, touchdown. Iowa State wide receiver Jaden Higgins led the game in receiving, 8 for 79, a touchdown. And defensively, I am going to go with Iowa State linebacker Cale Brazina, 7 tackles, 5 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss. Iowa State minus 16.5 covered, under 42.5. Yeah, we can skip this one.
Well, we can't skip the game of the weekend. No way.
People are calling it the game of the year or the game of the century already.
It's already game of the year, easy.
Number 4 Alabama 41-34 over number 2 Georgia. And dude, I mean, hey, if Georgia didn't have the first quarter, I mean, they would have won this easily. It was not difficult what Alabama was doing in the first quarter and the first half in general. It was just outside zone. I mean, they were just out leveraging Georgia at the point of attack on the edges and outrunning them to the corner. It was pretty simple what the game plan was. They knew that, well, for one, Michael Williams didn't play in this game, which really hindered Georgia both in the run defense and in the pass rush, because there was really not a ton of pressure on Milroe all night. But, I mean, this is why Georgia is Georgia, though, right? Like, they're down 28-0, and they came almost all the way back. They did come all the way back before Bama scored again, but 34-28, or whatever. I don't remember. Whatever, but yeah, I mean, they had the lead in the fourth quarter, and I was sitting there and I was like, once we got it to a one-score game, I was like, all right, like we got a shot here, and I was like, all right, we're drive. We can drive the ball down, score. Don't let Milroe have the ball back. Like that was my game plan. And then they shoot the big one to Arian Smith and score. And I was like, good Lord, like that's too much time. The one thing I will say though is that I think a lot of people aren't talking about, like, Georgia had the chance to go tie or win right at the end, and Carson Beck was moving the ball. And I don't necessarily think it was a bad ball for Carson Beck on the game-ending interception. I think it was Arian Smith in the end zone. Maybe it was a different receiver. Regardless, though, dude, that receiver needs to fight for the freaking ball. Like, he didn't do anything. He just let the DB go snatch it and didn't do a single thing to knock the ball away. So that's on him. I think it was a decent ball placement for Beck. Obviously, the 3 interceptions and the fumble, that's how you lose games. They got crushed on the turnover differential there. But, again, that's why Georgia didn't drop that far. They dropped to 5. And that's right around where I thought they were going to be, 5 or 6. And Alabama went to 1, like I predicted. So, yeah, I mean, we still got a lot of games left, and there's a decent chance these two see each other again. You got anything before we go to the stats?
Nah, man, nothing. I didn't get to watch this game, sadly. Actually, I didn't turn it on because I think I was watching a Ohio State game at the time.
Bro, you knew how the Ohio State game was going to go.
Yeah, it's still fun to watch one though. I don't need to think it's going to be a close game to watch a win. I'll watch it and be like, ooh, this is nice. Have a little drink, relax. Oh man, we're up by 5 scores. This is great. I'm going to keep it on.
Carson Beck, 54%, 439, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a fumble. Jalen Milroe, I mean, give him the Heisman right now.
I picked him.
Your preseason prediction.
My preseason prediction's feeling hot.
He made one mistake on the night, and it really wasn't a great throw. The interception, it was kind of right to the Georgia guy. But other than that, I mean, 81.8%, 374, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 16 carries, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Absolutely just kill. I mean, they did the same exact thing in the SEC championship game. They ran the ball. Jalen Milroe ran the ball, and Georgia had 0 answer for it. So, Trevor Etienne, he led the non-quarterbacks in rushing, 55 yards on 12 carries for the Dogs. Did get a touchdown, 2 catches for 11 yards as well. Jam Miller, the running back for Alabama, he caught a 16-yard touchdown. The other star of the night was the freshman, wide receiver Ryan Williams, 6 for 177 and the game-winning touchdown. Wide receiver Dylan Bell had a 100-yard night as well, 5 for 100 touchdown for the Dogs. Also 2 carries for 9 yards and a rushing touchdown. Bro, why the Braves are not rolling right now, I couldn't tell you. Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver for Alabama, he also had a rushing touchdown, 2 carries, 18 yards, a score to go with his 5 catches, and a receiving touchdown for tight end at Lawson Lucky on the Dogs side. Defensively, it's Alabama linebacker Deontay Lawson, 10 tackles, 7 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, pass defense. Alabama plus 1.5 wins outright, over 50.5, 75. Number 3, Ohio State, 38-7 romp over Michigan State. Again, I knew this how this one was going to go. That's why I played Ohio State on the spread, minus 23.5, because Michigan State's not good. And Ohio State has one of the best defenses in the nation. Will Howard, 67.7%, 244, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 6 carries, 14 yards, a rushing touchdown. Devin Brown also playing, 2 of 4, 50%, 31 yards, a touchdown. And the freshman, Julian Sayin, getting a little work at the end as well, 3 of 5, 60% for 23 yards. For Sparty, Aiden Childs, 68.4%, 167, touchdown, a pick, and a fumble. The North Dakota transfer, quarterback Tommy Schuster, also getting some playing time for Michigan State, 3 of 6, 50%, 32 yards. Ohio State running back Travion Henderson led the game in rushing, 7 carries, 69 yards, 2 catches, minus 1 yard. And Mika Igbuka, wide receiver for the Buckeyes, led the game in receiving, 7 for 96, touchdown. 2 touchdown night for the freshman, and just a filthy catch for his receiving touchdown. I mean, the one-handed snag was ridiculous.
It was
so he caught 1 receiving and a 19-yard rushing touchdown as well. Tight end G. Scott Jr. See, people, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about wide receiver and tight end names. You know, when you see G. Scott Jr., that man is a big 260-pound tight end, not a 215-pound wide receiver. He caught a touchdown as well, and Michigan State wide receiver Jerron Glover caught the lone score for Sparty. Defensively, I'm going to go with Ohio State linebacker Mitchell Milton, 3 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss. Ohio State minus 23.5 covered, under 47.5. Anything else you got for this game, since you said you watched it?
Yeah, it was great. I had a great time. Relaxing, sitting, drinking, watching them win. Had a good time.
Yeah.
Probably the most complete team in college football right now, I'd say. I'll say it.
I won't. Number 9, Penn State, 21-7 over number 19, Illinois. And yeah, I mean, this game went about how I thought it was going to go. I figured it was going to be low scoring, 2 good defenses. And again, I have absolutely no clue who in their right mind was betting on the Penn State spread. They were never going to cover 19.5, which is what it ended, which it closed at. I got it at 18 for Illinois. I was like, bro, that's plenty. Like, Penn State's not going to beat Illinois by 3 scores. Absolutely no shot. So, yeah, and I was right. It ended up covering. It got a little scary, though, because Penn State got the ball back up 21-7 with, like, I think 4.5 to go or something like that, like 5 minutes to go. I was like, please, dear Lord, don't score a touchdown, another touchdown. I can afford a field goal, not a touchdown. Anyways, Luke Altmaier, 64% for the Illini, 185, 1 touchdown, a pick, and a fumble. Drew Aller, they didn't ask him to do a lot. 71.4%, 135, 4 carries, 15 yards. It was the running game, though. Big night for Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. Allen, 18 for 102, a touchdown. Singleton, 16 for 94 and a touchdown. Also had 2 catches for 25 yards. Penn State wide receiver Harrison Wallace III, he led the game in receiving 4 for 50. And the all-around tight end Tyler Warren, I mean, I think he has, even in 4 games, I think he's locked up the Mackey. I mean, he is, I think, by far the best tight end in the country right now. He's doing everything. He throws, runs, and passes, as he threw a touchdown last week against Kent State. Caught 4 for 34, and then he had 2 carries for 13 yards, a rushing touchdown in this game. His fellow tight end, Carson Goda for Illinois, caught a 4-yard touchdown for the Illini's only score. And defensively, it is the man himself. Number 11 always shows up, no matter what number 11 it is, every single year for Penn State. 7 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and a pass defense for Mr. Abdul Carter, defensive end. That's why number 11 is so special at Penn State. Started off with LeVar Arrington and continued with some really good players into, Micah Parsons, and Abdul Carter has continued to carry on the number 11 there. Illinois plus 19.5 covered easily, under 48.5. Number 14, LSU. Tigers. Go Tigers, right? Crushing South Alabama 42-10. Garrett Nussmeier, 66.7%, 409, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 2 rushing touchdowns. Also, they got in the freshman quarterback Ricky Collins a little bit later, completed all 3 of his for 21 yards, 2 carries, 14 yards as well. For the Jaguars here, Gio Lopez, 72.7%, 171 touchdown, 10 carries, 33 yards. Bishop Davenport, the freshman, also getting in 4 of 8, 50% for 50 yards. And I mentioned this man, Caden Durham, the running back for LSU on Friday. He put in a whale of a game. 7 carries, 128 yards. That's 18.3 yards per carry, touchdown. And how about 3 catches, 89 yards, and a receiving touchdown? So Matt, he only touched the ball 10 times in this game, to the tune of 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty good line. His running mate there, running back Josh Williams, got a rushing touchdown as well. LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacey, 100-yard night for him, 5 for 107. LSU wide receiver Aaron Anderson catching the other touchdown from Nussmeier there, and Anthony Eager, wide receiver for South Alabama, catching the lone touchdown for the Jags. Defensively, there was not a ton of stats. I'm going to go with South Alabama, though. Corner Marion Fortenberry, 10 tackles, 8 solos, 2 pass defense. I just picked him for his name. Really. LSU minus 20.5 covered, under 64.5. Yes, sir. You lose, Jimmy.
Damn
it. Texas Tech, 44-41 over Cincinnati. I did not see this game going this way, though. 85 points, ridiculous. Brendan Sorsby was good, though. 68.9%, 426, 4 touchdowns, a pick, 12 carries, 52 yards for the Northwestern transfer there. Or Indiana transfer, I should say. Yeah, I mean, he had a whale of a game. Threw his first pick of the season. But, I mean, he added 4 more touchdowns. Baron Morton was really good, though, as well for the Red Raiders. 65.5%, 251, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries, 46 yards. He was helped out a little bit, though. They had a pretty good rushing night for a running back. Taj Brooks, 32 carries, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's just, I mean, the man probably spent all Sunday in the ice bath. Like, he did not move on Sunday, getting 32 totes. For Cincinnati, running back Evan Pryor, he scored a touchdown. Also did have a fumble, though. And how about the big receiving day for Cincinnati running back Manny Covey? Only 8 carries for 15 yards, but 6 receptions for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns for the running back there. There were 200-yard receivers, or 2 other 100-yard receivers in this game, I should say. One for Cincinnati, it was wide receiver Xavier Henderson, 7 for 127, a touchdown. Wide receiver Josh Kelly for the Red Raiders, 8 for 111 and a fumble. 2-touchdown night for Texas Tech wide receiver Coy Eakin, and another touchdown went to Cincinnati wide receiver Tony Johnson. Defensively, it's the man that essentially won the game because it was the lone offensive touchdown on the night. Texas Tech defensive back AJ McCarty, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 tackle for loss, and a 51-yard pick six. How about that for Brendan Sorsby's first interception of the season? Pick six that essentially lost the game for you because you lost by 3. That's tough. Good news for Cincinnati, though. They covered plus 3.5 by the hook. And over 59.5 hit quite easily. Like I said, 85 in this one. I think this is the highest scoring game of the week. I think. Number 25, Boise State wrecking over Washington State, 45-24. John Mateer for the Cougars. He actually had a pretty good night, 70.3%, 327, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 20 carries for 28 yards. Maddox Madsen for the Broncos, not asked to do a lot, 57.1%, 184, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 3 carries for 20 yards. But, I mean, why would you throw the ball when you have a demon in the backfield? I mean, Ashton Jeanty is demolishing every single person he's played. Even when they lost to Oregon, Ashton Jeanty rolled 26 carries, 259 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 7-yard reception as well. And I mean, let's just look here. Ashton Jeanty on the season, mind you, this is 4 games of work. 4 games. 82 carries, 845 yards, 13 touchdowns. I mean, we'll just send Milroe and Jeanty to New York.
You ever play Madden on rookie mode during career mode? And you just want to rack up the stats? I mean, that's what Jeanty's doing right now.
I mean, 10.3 yards per carry is ridiculous. He has over half. He's over halfway to his 2023 total. He rushed for 1,347 yards last year and 14 touchdowns. He's 1 short of his rushing touchdowns from last season. That's ridiculous. That absolutely is. I mean, the one thing I will say, though, it's interesting. He's not getting a lot of receiving work. Last year, I had 43 catches for 569 and 5 touchdowns. He only has 6 catches for 19 yards this year. So that's something that's interesting. But at least he has that track record that, like I said, he is by far RB1 right now in the 2025 draft. At least he has that track record of receiving work that he can fall back on. Like, I already had a season of decent production there. So, anyways, yeah. For Washington State, running back Leo Pulalasi, he scored a touchdown on the ground. Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams, big night for him, 9 for 142, a touchdown, leading the game in receiving. His teammate Chris Hudson, also big night, 9 for 126. 2-touchdown night for Boise tight end Matt Lauder. When I first saw his name, I thought it said Matt Lauer. Not Louder. And then Washington State tight end Cooper Mathers, he caught a 14-yard touchdown as well. Defensively, it was a pretty good night for Boise. Defensive end Ahmed Hassanein, 8 tackles, 4 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Boise minus 6.5 covered, over 65.5, 69 in that one. I thought that one had a chance to go over. It started out good. Each team went down and scored a touchdown, and then it kind of stalled out in the end of the first and into the second. They got it going in the second half, though. Arizona, how about demolishing Utah, number 10 Utah, number 23-10. Yeah, Isaac Wilson, finally turned into a pumpkin here. 50%, 280, touchdown, 2 picks. Noah Fafita, though, 61.3%, 197, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 2 carries for 10 yards. Utah running back Micah Bernard, he led the game in rushing, 16 carries, 91 yards. Massive day for Utah wide receiver Dorian Singer, 9 for 155. Touchdown for Arizona going to tight end Keon Burnett. And wide receiver Jeremiah Patterson, 3-yard score for him. 20-yard touchdown there for Utah tight end Caleb Launer. Defensively, I got to go with Arizona defensive back Tacario Davis. How about 7 tackles, all of them solos, 5 passes defense. He was patrolling back there pretty good all night. Arizona plus 7.5 wins outright, under 46.5. I really want to skip this game. I really do, because I hate Oregon so much. Number 8 Oregon, 34-13 over UCLA. An exorbitant amount of money would have been in my pocket if Oregon would have covered the freaking spread.
What was the spread?
20. Well, I got it higher, but it ended up being 23.5. I had it at like 25.5, 26. So one score would have done it. And you know why they didn't do it?
Why didn't they do
Dylan Gabriel threw the dumbest pass I've ever seen. Right before the half, they're going in to score right before halftime, make it 35-3. The man throws it right to the defender on the goal line. And what does that guy do? Of course, he's a former Oregon Duck as well. So I think there's some collusion there, by the way. All he does is return it 96 yards for a pick 6. I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, there's absolutely no excuse. And I tweeted it out. A bunch of people liked it as well. Vegas made the call because Oregon literally just like shut down in the second half. Their first 4 drives in the first half, they had like 280 yards. Their first 5 drives in the second half, they only had 78 yards. So you tell me, did Vegas do something or not? Because, I mean, Oregon didn't stop scoring when they were playing Oregon State, did they? No, they didn't. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous that happened. Dylan Gabriel, 75.6%, 278, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 3 carries for 23 yards. UCLA, Ethan Garbers, 12 of 20, 60%, 118, 2 picks. Justin Martin, the freshman, came in, played a little bit, 1 of 4, 25% for 7 yards. Oregon running back Jordan James, over 100 in this one, 20 carries, 103 yards, touchdown, 2 catches for 15 yards. Big day for Oregon. Wide receiver Tez Johnson, 11 receptions, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 for 1 passing as well. His teammate, wide receiver Trayshawn Holden, caught a touchdown. And then defensively, it's the player that royally screwed me. Defensive back Brian Addison, 8 tackles, 7 solos, 1 pass defense, 96-yard pick 6. Speaking of royally getting screwed, how bad is Atlanta selling this game right now? All right.
Dude, they don't want to make the playoffs. I guess they know I'm going to the Brewers game tomorrow. So they're like, oh no, we can't play in front of him. I mean,
well, they just want to make our other friend Andrew Madden. They want to make him happy as a Diamondbacks fan. So
yeah. The thing is, I've seen the Diamondbacks play. I don't want to see them again. I want something new. Give me the Braves. Come on, I've never seen them play in my life.
I have, and they actually won. I think both times I've seen them play in Atlanta. Anyways, UCLA plus 23.5 covers, under 52.5. FCS game of the week wasn't much of a game. Number 7, Central Arkansas. The Bears rolling over number 19, Lamar. 34-14. The Cardinals getting boat raced here. Will McIlvain, the former Central Michigan quarterback and Florida, I believe, as well, quarterback. When his dad coached there, he was a quarterback there. But yeah, 68.2%, 158, touchdown, a pick, 2 carries, 10 yards, and a fumble. For the Cardinals, it was quarterback Robert Coleman, 55%, 110, 1 pick, and a rushing touchdown. Central Arkansas, man, they got this kid that's a pretty good beast right now. Shunderick Powell at running back, 25 carries, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches, 38 yards. How about his teammate almost over 100 as well? Darius Hale, 96 yards on 19 carries and a touchdown. Touchdown rush also for Lamar for running back Kalen Griffin. Central Arkansas wide receiver Trajan Bridges. He led the game in receiving, 4 for 60. Touchdown reception going to tight end Dax Courtney. And then defensive players of the game here, Central Arkansas defensive back Tamarian Wilson with a pick, linebacker Hamilton Moore, and for Lamar with a fumble recovery, and defensive back DeJuan Lewis, a interception. Central Arkansas minus 17.5 covered, under 51.5. To the NFL, yeah, dude. So after a week of all 3 of my teams winning, all 3 of my teams lost. And you, sir, pending tonight's matchups, are the only one on the podcast that has a team with a win this week.
Let's go.
After we all won last week. Yeah, dude, I don't even know why I kept watching this game, to be honest. I mean, this gave me PTSD from Saturday night watching Georgia. Except the Eagles never got that close. The Bucks 33-16 rout over the Eagles in Tampa. I mean, I probably should have known. I probably should have picked the Bucks because the Eagles had 0 people. I did think, though, that I thought A.J. Brown was potentially going to play because they listed him as questionable, and the 2 weeks prior they had ruled him out earlier in the week. So I thought listing him as questionable meant he was going to play. He did not. No Devontae Smith either. No Lane Johnson. He was a game-time decision with a concussion as well. So, I mean, the Eagles had 0 people offensively, and defensively, they reverted back to what they did against the Falcons and what they did in 2023 down the stretch. So, I still have no clue what this team is about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to put it for the Eagles is that when they get down early, they get down on themselves. They just kind of mentally check out. They kind of don't have that. They don't have that ability to have that drive that just puts them back in the game. Or they can't just collect first downs. They can't, get that ball moving forward. They can't get their play action going. And yes, they were missing their 2 best receiving weapons, but you gotta put up a better effort than that. And I think also their defense, they were just figured out. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson does not belong on a football field right now. That guy is just embarrassing right now. And I would say Darius Slay too has just not been what the Eagles are expecting him to be. So yeah, it's just a complete unshowing by the Eagles. It felt like they got down early, they let it get to them. They really didn't put up much of a fight throughout the rest of the game. So
yeah, and they kept talking about it all day, but 105 degree, 100 plus on the field, that didn't help either, being obviously the Eagles are used to 20 degrees less, even if 40 degrees less up here in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't like having such early bye this week, but I think it will be good for Philadelphia to reset and we know they're going to get all their guys back after the bye. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson will all be back. But I mean, we still have seen the issues defensively. Like, there is still no pass rush. I think Josh Sweat did get a sack in this game, but otherwise, like, Bryce Huff is like that gif where the guy's just shoveling the money into the furnace. Like,
he's
that is
at
what
a screen.
is right now.
He's at screen grab of Tony Snell's stat line. That's just 0, 0, 0, 0, like 48 minutes, like 28 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 turnovers, 0 takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even noticed him on the field all season.
And before we go back to our famous saying of, let's trade, you could trade back for Hassan Reddick. Technically, you can't. I found out today you technically can't.
Yes, Ian Rappaport nicely putting that stuff out today. You can, if certain things are met. You can reacquire him if there are certain things that happen. You just cannot trade for him back, unfortunately. He has to be released, essentially, for the Eagles to reacquire Hassan Reddick in the same season, which will not happen. Anyways, Baker Mayfield, 63.8%, 347, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, 10 yards, a rushing touchdown. Jalen Hurts, I mean, 60%, 158, a touchdown, 8 carries, 20 yards, touchdown, and a fumble. I mean, dude, I think this is 9 straight games now for Jalen Hurts turning the ball over. To be honest, it kind of wasn't his fault because he got strip sacked. But at the same time, we'll talk about the game from last night, but when I saw Josh Allen get strip sacked, it reminded me exactly of what happened to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think the problem with Jalen Hurts is his pocket presence hasn't really developed well.
Well, and you cannot throw the ball. Like, you have to know that guy is gonna be right there. He just avoided the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know he's gonna come back at the ball. So yeah, I mean, the fumbling has been ridiculous. At least he didn't throw an interception. I was happy about that.
Progress.
Because I think he had thrown one in each of the first 3 games. But we know what the Eagles are. It runs through Saquon. I mean, he only got 10 carries. That was another issue. The Eagles, Saquon only got 12 touches in this game. Like, that's not how you're going to win a ball game for Philadelphia. And it's kind of funny because every time Saquon had 2 big plays, and it's like, why are we not getting him the ball more? Because 10 carries, 84 yards. He had a big, I think it was like a 50-yard, 60-yard rush. And then a big pass catch as well. 2 catches, 32 yards, lead the game in rushing. Bucky Irving got in the end zone. He exactly tied Rachaad White. So hopefully, fingers are crossed, Jimmy. Hopefully he's taking this over. Hoping. He did get one
running back. My favorite rookie running back.
He got one less touch. Rachaad White got one more reception, but Mike Evans was dominant. 8 catches, 94 yards, touchdown, 14 targets there. And also, I should have picked the Bucks. I didn't know that was going to be Brady's game this week. That was just that was the NFL literally just fleeced everyone on that game because, of course, the Bucks are going to win the game that Tom Brady's calling. Like, come on. That's BS, by the way. Anyways, there should be a statute of limitations. You should not be allowed to call a game for a team that you've played for within the last 3 or 4 years. Just saying. Anyways, yeah. Trey Palmer caught a touchdown from Baker and then Jalen Hurts one touchdown went to wide receiver Paris Campbell. I think another story for the Eagles, like, bro, like, why did we trade for Jahan Dotson? He hasn't done anything in increased snaps with Brown and Smith out. Like, Dotson was supposed to be the dude. And I know he probably doesn't have a grasp on the whole playbook because he's only been there like a month. But at the same time, like, bro, like, we traded a decently high pick for you. So, and defensively, I mean, it's all Tampa Bay. They demolished the Eagles line. It's Levante David though. 8 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackle swaps, 1 pass defense, and a QB hit. Also a forced fumble. Bucks plus a half. They covered over 43.5 easily. 49. Bro, this one was so annoying. Colts 27, Steelers 24. And I'll continue to pick the Steelers. I don't care. But like, Justin Fields is lighting it up right now. Like, he's in rhythm, and we see what finally having like a good team around him like does, because he has confidence. His connection with George Pickens is off the charts, and he's running the ball like he's normally done. But I've been thoroughly impressed with the passing game for Justin Fields, the development through the first 4 games. 64.7%, 312 touchdown, 10 carries, 55 yards, 2 touchdown rushes, and a fumble. Hate that fumble is credited to him. That was not his fault. I have no clue why Zach Frazier snapped the ball. Rookie on the road. I don't know. But that's why they lost the game. I mean, they lost 18 yards on that fumble recovery. Or no, that wasn't his fumble. That was different. Well, no, his fumble, though, I thought was also bullshit. I thought for sure his elbow was down. And I thought the ground caused it when he did fumble. But anyways, that fumble, though, that he recovered, 18-yard loss on first down when you're trying to drive to tie or win the game, like, that was tough to dig out of, and they didn't. So I think Steelers are for real, though. There's some people calling them frauds, but I think they have a good formula going right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're winning games, and they stayed in this one. Colts just had, Joe Flacco. I mean, come on. It's
well, I mean, and also, like, the Steelers came back. Like, they were down 17-0. And they came, all the way back to make it a 1-score game. Despite Joe Flacco throwing some dimes, 61.5%, 168, 2 touchdowns. Anthony Richardson, I mean, the Colts fans had to have PTSD. I know he didn't get, season-ending injury in this one, but it's the same exact week that he got hurt last week or last year. 3 for 4, 75%. I don't know why I put 50.
Yeah, I don't know why they kept him in for that extra play. Like, he was very clearly, like, laboring, and then immediately ran a play where he ran the ball, and he gets whacked again.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm done. I'm like, what were the Colts thinking? He was hurt. Get him out of there. At least don't call a play where he has to, like, be the main focal point.
3 carries, 24 yards there. Yeah, I mean, again, which he didn't even get hurt like he did last year, where he was going for the goal line, got smacked. But I mean, I don't know. It's 2 years in a row now. It's got dinged up already. So, and the thing is, like, he's the size of quarterback that I like in a running quarterback. He's big. He's like Justin Fields. He's big, and because he has the weight and the muscle, like, he should be able to take the kind of hits, right? But I don't know. Jonathan Taylor had a good day, surprisingly. on the Pittsburgh defense. 88 yards, 21 carries, touchdown, 3 catches for 20 yards. George Pickens, like I said, I mean, he continues to just rake. 7 for 113 on 11 targets and a fumble. That fumble was really bad. I've seen George do it for a couple years now, where he doesn't tuck the ball. He never does. He runs with it just flailing out there, and it's gonna happen eventually. Touchdown catch for wide receiver Josh Downs on one of his 9 targets, caught 8 of those. Tight end Pat Freiermuth caught a touchdown on his 7 targets, caught 5, and then tight end Drew Ogletree for the Colts caught his only target for a 15-yard touchdown, which I have no clue what the Steelers defense was doing on that one because it was wide open. I am going on the losing side for my defensive player of the game. It is defensive tackle Cameron Hayward. Still getting it done. 6 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. Colts plus 2.5 went outright over 40.5. Bengals finally got a win. 34-24 over the Panthers. This is why we didn't pick Carolina this week. Joe Burrow. I mean, this offense continues to be good. I mean, like we talked about on Friday, it's the defense. It's the issue. 71% for Burrow, 232, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a 10-yard carry. Andy Dalton, I mean, I know they lost, but Andy continues to be really good for Carolina, 62.5%, 220, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Chuba Hubbard, though, he's coming. Back-to-back weeks, excellent performances. 18 carries, 104 yards, touchdown, 4 catches, 17 yards. And I tried to tell people, everyone on Friday, this was the game that Chase Brown takes over for Zach Moss. I know they split carries. They both got 15. But look at the efficiency, though. Chase Brown, 80 yards on 15. Moss only got 51. And Chase Brown scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. Moss did catch a touchdown, but I'm telling you, I think Chase Brown's ready to take over for the Bengals in the backfield. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. Just for Zach Taylor, I think it's going to take an injury to Zach Moss for him to really give Chase like the majority of the carries. But I don't know. I love Chase Brown. I think he's going to be a beast. We already know Jamar Chase is a beast. He led the game in receiving, 3 for 85, touchdown, 6 targets. Big workload for 2 Carolina receivers here. 13 targets for Deontay Johnson, caught 7 for 83 and a touchdown. How about the rookie? Wide receiver Xavier Legette, 10 targets, caught 6 for 66 and his first NFL touchdown. T. Higgins also getting 10 targets. He caught 6. And defensively, I'm going to go with Panther safety Xavier Woods, 10 tackles, 7 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense, and a pick. I think Panthers are in a good spot right now. They're going to be sneaky. There are going to be some sneaky picks throughout the rest of the year, but I think they can eke out like 4 or 5 wins. See? Bengals minus 5.5 covered, over 47.5 by the hook. Or no, that was 58, not 48. Bruh. I don't like Broncos 10-9 over the Jets. I have no clue what the Jets were doing. I didn't watch this game, but saw it was it's been a rainy mess in the Northeast here, and it was so at MetLife. But also, the Jets, no Morgan Moses. The Broncos defense was dominant in this game. I think they sacked Rodgers 6 times. Mm-hmm. And hit him a bunch of other times. I was like, bro, like, man. And guess what? Bo Nix got two in a row here. He's got 2 in a row.
Negative 7 yards in the first half. My God, he sucks.
Well, he did enough. He threw the game-winning touchdown, so that's
Oh, he finally has one?
Yeah. I was pissed though, to be honest. I did live bet the Jets because I was like, bro, there is no way, absolutely no way Aaron Rodgers is not going to lead these boys down there and get the game-winning score. And they had a chance. Greg Zuerlein just freaking sucks. I mean, it wasn't even close on the game-winning field goal attempt. So, yeah, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, though, I mean, a decent day, 57.1%, 225, 5 carries for 26 yards. Luckily for the Jets, pending tonight's game, everyone in the division lost. So no harm, no foul. Bo Nix, 48%, 60 yards, touchdown. That's what I like to see there. Javonte Williams, he led the game in rushing, 77 yards on 16 carries, 2 catches for 3 yards. You had, how about Mike Williams leading the game in receiving, 67 yards on 4 receptions, caught 4 of his 5 targets. Cortland Sutton, 9-target day for him. He only caught 3, but one of them was the all-important touchdown, and it's a very intriguing stat line. He has 60 receiving yards. Bo Nix only has 60 passing yards. But there was literally like he caught 3. There were 9 other guys, 9 other receptions. I think like 4 went for plus yards. The other 3 or the other 5 went for minus yards. So they evened each other out. And I mean, there was a lot of defense in this one, as you can see. I am going to go with Broncos linebacker Justin Cernad. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles lost, 1 QB hit. Broncos plus 8.5 win outright, under 39.5. So this is like the only game that I was actually confident in, and the only game that turned out how I thought it was going to turn out, with the Vikings winning.
Barely.
31-29 over the Packers in Lambeau. Go ahead.
Oh, it was a tale of 2 halves, really. First half, Vikings just absolutely dominated. Jordan Love. I was saying this in the group chat the entire time. Jordan Love just does not look healthy. He's not planting on his front foot well, and that was causing him just to miss his targets either behind or short, and he had like 2 first half interceptions. Was it 2 first half?
So
yeah, I think both
at halftime.
Yeah, I think he had 2.5. I can't remember. But anyway. And then that muffed punt from Naylor, he's not our punt guy. It's usually Powell, but Powell got hurt in the previous offensive drive, so they had to put a Naylor. And Packers were punting with the wind, and it went over his head, and he should have just let it go. And even though Vikings were up 28-7.5, you really did feel like the momentum shifted. You really feel like, man, it could have been 28-0. But like 28-7, like really did give Packers something. And then the third quarter, no one scored, but like there was a very obvious missed call by the refs. That Xavier McKinney interception, he didn't have possession until his feet were off the ground and his elbow was out of bounds. That could have at least been 3 points. But at the same time, that's a bad read from Sam Darnold. He was just eyeing Aaron Jones that entire time. So bad throw anyway. And then fourth quarter, I feel like Vikings just played too much prevent defense. They had they gave up like a 98-yard drive, and then next ensuing drive, Sam Darnold fumbled. 2 plays there, touchdowns, 22-28. I'm thinking, all right, I even texted your chat. I'm like, yeah, it's over. Here comes this classic Viking like fall apart thing. It's in Lambeau. Course is against our biggest rival, Green Bay. But I mean, they buttoned down the hatches, got a big interception. We had a big drive that took off some time, but we didn't score. And then Jordan Love threw a pick, punted back, and then Robert Kraft fumbled. Tucker Kraft, not Robert Kraft, fumbled, and we turned that into a pretty decent drive. Made it 31-22. Packers got the ball back right before the 2-minute warning with no timeouts, scored another touchdown again on like super prevent defense. I hate prevent defense so much. It's the worst thing on the planet. But onside kick, went back to the Vikings, game was over. So yes, you experienced everything in this game. It was quite the headache for me. I think I turned it off like 2 separate times just because I was just like I have a headache. I had to take Advil after the game. I was like, this sucks. Like I'm glad we won, obviously, as a Viking fan, starting off 4-0, winning in Lambeau, going up against 3 very good teams. And I'll say it, Green Bay is a very good team. I would even go as far as to say they're better than the Lions. Whoa, crazy. But yeah, I mean, great game. I think it was the best game of the noon slot, maybe. Probably the only other good one I would say would be the Saints-Falcons game when we get to that. But yeah, Darnold looked good in the first half, looked a little rough in the second. Love, he looked injured. I'll say it, he looked injured. And the Vikings weren't blitzing a lot because Jordan Love does really well against the blitz, and the Packers' offensive line was really good. But on the times we did get to him, you could tell like he really did not want to be touched. Jordan Love really panicked when he did start to get people in his face. I mean, 3 interceptions just says it all. But yeah, crazy game.
Yeah, I was not watching this one, but 59.3%, 389, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks for Love. Darnold, good efficiency, 71.4%, 275, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 7 carries, 15 yards, and a fumble. Bro, what the hell? Why did the Vikings not get Aaron Jones into the freaking end zone in his return to Lambeau?
They tried, man. They tried.
Well, they didn't run it 3 times, did they?
No, they didn't. I think the problem was too.
They ran it twice.
Yeah, they had the chance. They just couldn't do it. I think that wasn't our problem with the game I had with the way O'Connell played it. We get like 2nd and short and 3rd and short, and you're like, oh, run the ball. And he just would pass it. Like the interception by Darnold was a 2nd and short. And then right before halftime, it was a 3rd and short. And then we punted back. I was like, why are we throwing the ball in these short yard situations? We have Josh Jacobs and Ty Chandler. These guys are good short yard. But I digress.
Aaron Jones, 22 carries, 93 yards, 4 catches, 46 yards on 5 targets. Jaden Reed exploded, 7 for 139, a touchdown on 8 targets. Justin Jefferson, of course, scored 6 for 85, touchdown on 8 targets. Dontavian Wicks, massive game for him, 13 targets, caught 5 for 78, 2 touchdowns. 2-touchdown day for Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison, 1 receiving, 1 rushing, 7 yards in for the score. Tight end Tucker Kraft scored for the Packers, as did tight end Josh Oliver for the Vikings. Defensively, a lot of good plays. In this game, I am going to go with Vikings corner Shaquille Griffin, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 3 pass defense, and a pick.
I'd go with Byron Murphy here. You missed it here. He did have 7 tackles, 5 solos, 2 pass deflections, and an interception. But he also forced the fumble of Tucker Kraft. So like the last interception and the last fumble was on him. I mean, so he kept them out of the end zone. He kept them from getting back into this game. So I got to go with Byron Murphy here.
The Vikings plus 2.5 went outright over 44.5. 60. Falcons walking it off. The Cooster, 26-24 over the Saints. 58 yards for Younghoe Koo to win the game. Derek Carr, good day, 77.8%, 239 a pick. Kirk Cousins, 60%, 238 and a pick. So almost the same stat line there. Alvin Kamara led the game in rushing, 77 yards on 19 carries, touchdown. Big workload in the receiving game, 9 targets, caught 7 for 42. And how about the intriguing thing? Like Tyler Algier leading the Falcons in rushing yards. Taysom Hill got 2 touchdown runs in before he got hurt. Chris Olave came in with a hamstring injury, but played and got a good normal workload, 10 targets, caught 8 for 87. Wide receiver Rashid Shaheed 11 targets for him, caught 8 for 83 and a fumble. 12 targets for wide receiver Drake London on the Falcons side. Caught 6 of those for 64 yards. There's a whole host of defensive performances. The Falcons defense and special teams getting involved in this game. Wide receiver Kadero Hodge, a fumble recovery in the end zone off a muff punt for the Saints. And that ended up fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then how about the day? Linebacker Troy Anderson for the Falcons. How about 17 tackles, 10 of those solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense, and a 47-yard pick six. Saints plus 2.5. They cover by the hook. Over 42.5. Texans coming back to beat the Jaguars 24-20. CJ Stroud leading the game-winning drive there, throwing the game winner to running back Dario Gumbawale. 67.5% for Stroud, 345, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries for 17 yards. Trevor Lawrence, 54.5%, 169, 2 touchdowns. Why do you think you're on my trade block right now, Trevor? Like, trying to trade him away, but no one wants him so far.
Man, definitely not going to bring up that he was my MVP choice last year. I learned better.
Yeah, and the games go a certain way tonight. I mean, Jaguars might be the only winless team in the league.
Yeah, they might.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is like a sleeper team for so many people. I remember everyone being like, oh, man, they had a bad collapse last year, but they're going to come back strong. Their team's better. Like, they might get a wild card. And then it's like, nope.
Well, you were right, Jimmy. I mean, you were lower than I was. I had them at 8 and 9, still missing the playoffs, but 8 and 9. You were on 6 and 11 for Jacksonville, so you knew.
Yeah, and I mean, I had Doug Peterson getting fired. I said in the show, I think I had him fired either when they go to London or right after. Like, I think they're going to be done with him.
For the first game, London.
Yeah.
They played back-to-back in London.
That's right. They go back in London twice. I can't remember if I had him firing him while they're in London between weeks or like right before.
leaving him in the leaving.
Dude, imagine this being like, yeah, you're out of here. Good luck getting back to the United States.
Interesting one in this one. I think it was because ETN got injured and was out for a decent portion of the game. But Tank Bigsby actually led the game in rushing 90 yards on 7 carries. Like I mentioned, Dario Gumbawale, good day in the receiving. Caught 4 for 47 in the game-winning touchdown to go along with his 2 carries for 7 yards. Dude, Nico Collins continues to eat. 12 catches on 15 targets, 151 yards touchdown. That's both career highs, the 12 catches and 151 yards. Stephon Diggs, he had a 6-yard rushing touchdown, his first career rushing touchdown to go along with 9 targets on the day. Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, touchdown for him on his 9 targets. And then 12-target day for Christian Kirk. I think Kirk's finally back, though. 2 back-to-back good fantasy days. Caught a touchdown in this one. Hopefully he's back because I need him. And defensively, how about I don't know. That's tough. There's some good performances here. I'll go with the winning team. Texans safety Eric Murray, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 sack for loss, pass deflection, and 1 QB hit. Jags plus 5.5 covered, under 46.5. That's a trend for a lot of the games this week. A lot of covers. The Dogs ate this week, whether winning outright or covering. This one was not like that, as we all picked the Rams, of course, and of course the Bears won and covered. 24-18 Chicago. Yeah, and I mean, this is why I thought the Rams were going to lose. This is why we all thought probably the Rams were going to lose last week. Because they don't have anyone. And by some miracle, they came back against San Francisco last week. They kept this one close most of the game, and they just could not get it back to, like a field goal type of situation there losing by 6. Stafford, though, 69%, 224 pick and a fumble. Caleb Williams, not quite the 363 he had last week, but I think what's really encouraging for Caleb Williams is the efficiency. 73.9%. Like, he had not been doing that. But the other bad thing is the air yards was not good in this one. Only 157 yards on 17 completions. Did throw a touchdown, 5 carries for 12 yards as well. Kyron Williams continues to be the driving force of the Rams offense right now without all of the receivers. 94 yards on 19 carries, touchdown, 4 catches for 10 yards. And finally, Bears fans are like, finally, DeAndre Swift had a game. 93 yards on 16 carries, a rushing touchdown. He got all 7 of his targets for 72 yards. Yeah. Bears running back Rashawn Johnson got in the end zone as well. How about Tutu Atwell leading the game in receiving for the Rams? 4 for 82 on 6 targets. Touchdown went to Bears wide receiver DJ Moore as well. And defensively, dude, Bears safety Jaquan Brisker just absolutely ate everyone. 12 tackles, 8 of them solos, a sack, 2 tackle swaps, 1 pass defense, 1 QB hit, and a pick. Ridiculous day for him. Penn Stater, baby, go Nittany Lions. Bears minus 3.5 cover, over 40.5. This is probably the most shocking. Maybe Sunday night was, but this was up there in terms of shocking wins. Guess who all picked the Cardinals?
Everyone on the show.
42-14 over the Commanders. Good Lord. Jaden Daniels has won Offensive Rookie of the Year already, by the way. They just announced it. Because he has the highest completion percentage by any quarterback, not just rookies, any quarterback in NFL history through the first 4 games. So, yeah, things are going well in Washington, D.C. right now. 86.7% for Daniels, 233, 1 touchdown, a pick, 8 carries, 47 yards, rushing touchdown. Kyler, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, why Kyler is not doing well. 72.7% is good, but he only had 142 yards on 16 completions. He did throw a touchdown. And they had the running game, like James Conner, 100-yard day, 104 on 18 carries, touchdown, 9-yard reception as well. So I really don't know why the Cardinals were not able to score points in this game. Probably because of the lack of passing game. Because the running game was working. And also, I think a big issue was Marvin Harrison, only 6 targets. He has to be a double-digit target guy for the Cardinals to win games. Especially without Trey McBride in this one, there's no explanation on why Harrison didn't get more than 6 targets. This is ridiculous. For the Commanders, though, Brian Robinson also over 100 rushing yards, 101 on 21 carries, touchdown, 3 catches for 12 yards. Oh, Jeremy McNichols getting 2 touchdowns in the stead of Austin Eckler as the RB2. Washington, and also crazily in this game, Olamide Zaccheaus led the game in receiving for Washington. 6 for 85 caught all 6 of his targets. Terry McLaurin had 10 targets. He caught 7 and a touchdown. And Marvin Harrison did catch a touchdown in this one. Annoyingly, though, I had his over on his yards, and he did not get that. Defensively, Commanders defensive end Dorrance Armstrong pretty much wrecked the entire Cardinals offensive line. 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. Commanders plus 3.5 win outright, and the over 48.5 hit. 49ers. I mentioned this in the Vikings game, but this was about how I thought this game was going to go. 49ers 30-13 over the Patriots. Brock Purdy, good day, 55.6%, 288, 1 touchdown, a pick, 5 carries, 11 yards. Jacoby Brissett, 59.4%, 168, touchdown, a pick, and a fumble. Jordan Mason continues to wreck everyone in the running game. 24 carries, 23 yards, touchdown, 2 catches for 37 yards. Ramondre Stevenson had a fumble in this one. Antonio Gibson actually led the Patriots in receiving, 3 for 67. Your guy, Juwan Jennings, led the game in receiving, 3 for 88 on 6 targets. And I am so pissed, bro. I had a same game parlay on this game, right? George Kittle over receiving yards. Guess what it was?
45.5.
That is exactly correct. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. He only had 3 targets in the first half, and he only had 1 target in the second half. I was like, bro, and the thing is, when they were running these passing plays in the second half, I'm like, bro, he's open. He's wide open in the middle of the field. Throw in the ball. And then when he got his 1 catch, I was like, please, dear Lord, tell me that is 7 yards. Nope, it was not. It was only 6 yards. Love it. Love the life. Kittle did score a touchdown on one of his 4 targets, though. Tight end Austin Hooper scoring the lone touchdown on the day for the Patriots, one of his 2 targets. And that was defense for San Fran. I mean, take your pick. Defense tackle Kevin Givens had a great day. It was linebacker Fred Warner for me, though. 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 pass defense, 45-yard pick 6. Dude, I need some more runs for the Braves, by the way. I need 2.
3-0 right now. Bottom of the 8th.
I need 5, Jimmy.
Dude, that's White. That guy's a speed guy. This guy is an auto out.
49ers, minus 10.5 covered, over 41.5. Raiders, bro, I should have kept my pick. The Raiders win despite no Crosby, no Adams. Doesn't matter. 20-16 over the Browns because I'm never picking the Browns again this year. Deshaun Watson, he actually had a good game. 75%, 176, 1 touchdown, a pick, 8 carries, 32 yards. Gardner Minshew did not have a good game, 58.3%, 130, but it was the Raiders defense and special teams that continued to set the Raiders up in decent field position that really won this game, I think. Raiders running back Alexander Madison, he led the game in rushing, 60 yards on 5 carries. Big workload in the passing game for Jerome Ford to my dismay as I was facing him in fantasy. Caught all 7 targets for 27 yards. That's ridiculous. Jerry Jeudy led the game in receiving for Cleveland, caught 6 of his 9 targets for 72 yards. Jacoby Myers caught 5 of his 10 targets. Trey Tucker for the Raiders getting a 3-yard rushing touchdown in. And then how about the Browns touchdown going to who everyone thought, tight end Blake Whiteheart.
You know how you say you can look at a name and know immediately if it's a tight end or Blake Whiteheart. Yep, tight end. Surprised he's not a fullback.
And DJ Turner didn't catch his only target, but he had an 18-yard rushing touchdown. So how about the Raiders getting the win with 2 receivers running for touchdowns?
Just as we all suspected.
And defensively, there's 2 guys.
Ooh, I'm sorry, Rust. You're not getting those 5. Defensive
end, Myles Garrett for the Browns, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hits. It's fine. The Mets can come back, and then we can.
Yeah, Mets will get 3 runs on top of the 9th, and then
we can hit a 2-run walk-off home run to cover the spread and get the overruns.
Ooh. Here's the thing, though. They're going to go to the bottom of the 10th, so there's a runner on second already. Lead-off home run. Boom. Problem solved.
Well, yeah, but we're only in the 9th.
Exactly. So, I mean, you gotta wait it out.
I mean, yeah, it works. It works. I've done it before. Yeah, so Myles Garrett, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. Safety Rodney McLeod still rolling around out there in the NFL. 2 tackles, 1 solo, and a 25-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Those are my picks because of the stats, but it was Charles Snowden that dominated the Cleveland offensive line all day. Sack, tackle, floss, 1 pass defense, 3 QB hits. Raiders plus 2.5 went outright under 38.5. Chiefs get the win, 17-10 over the Chargers. Did not expect this to be that close. But the Chiefs pushed for me anyways. It was 7 when I got it. But Patrick Mahomes, 65.5%, 245, touchdown, a pick, 5 carries, 12 yards. Justin Herbert did play in this game, 59.3%, 179, touchdown. How about Kareem Hunt? Back from the dead. Leading the game in rushing, 69 yards on 14 carries, 2 catches for 16 yards. J.K. Dobbins struggled for the second straight week. The Chargers rushing attack. Touchdown run for running back Samaje Perine on the Chiefs side. And Travis Kelce's back because Mahomes literally has no one else to throw the ball to.
Hey, he injured his other target.
Yeah. Kelce catching 7 of his 9 targets for 89 yards. The rookie Xavier Worthy catching a touchdown on 1 of his 4 targets. The other rookie, Ladd McConkey for the Chargers, catching a touchdown on 1 of his 7 targets. And defensively, it's close, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Defense tackle Chris Jones, of course, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles loss, 3 QB hits. Chargers covered plus 7.5 by the hook and under 41.5. Sunday Night Football. This was the most surprising game of the week, I think. Ravens just smacking the Bills in Baltimore, 35-10. It was a blackout in Baltimore. Yeah, I mean, I really did think the Bills were going to win with how they had been rolling, how they had been playing defense. But from the get-go, I mean, the Ravens had them. 87-yard touchdown run for Derrick Henry on the Ravens' first offensive play. That kind of set the tone for the rest of the night. But anyways, Josh Allen, 55.2%, 180, 5 carries, 21 yards at a fumble. Lamar Jackson was spectacular, 72.2%, 156, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries, 54 yards, touchdown, and a fumble. Speaking of spectacular, I mean, Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 199 yards, touchdown, 3 catches for 10 yards and a receiving score. And Derrick Henry, by the way, single-handedly beat Jimmy in fantasy this week.
Yeah, I'm putting out a missing persons report on Zay Flowers and Mark effing Andrews because those sons of bitches are just useless right now. I'm benching both of them for the foreseeable future.
Well, when Henry scored on the first one, I was gonna say in our group chat or in our fantasy group chat that Derrick Henry was just the king was just trying to make it interesting. That was when he only had like 14 points, and then he ended up having like 25. So it was quite the night for Derrick Henry in fantasy. He was pissed, though. He didn't get the yard, and he should have had a lot more because he freaking fumbled into the end zone. Patrick Ricard recovering that for a touchdown. And Justice Hill, he caught a touchdown on 1 of his 6 targets. Ty Johnson, I freaking hate the Bills. Why in the world would you put Ty Johnson in the goal line when you have James Cook on your only touchdown of the night? 3-yard rushing score for Ty Johnson. And all that I would have needed to do tonight would have been had Kenneth Walker get a touchdown. If James Cook would have been the guy that scored for Buffalo, Kenneth Walker gets a touchdown tonight, I win buku bucks. But no, the Bills just had to say, we hate this rusty guy and put Ty Johnson in. That's exactly what they said. Khalil Shakir led the game in receiving, caught 4 of his 5 targets, 62 yards. Defensively, it's Ravens linebacker Kyle Van Noy, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, 3 QB hits. And the Braves are going to the playoffs, people, by the way.
I'll be seeing the Braves tomorrow.
Yeah. Ravens cover -2.5, under 47.5. Rolling through news real quick. College football news. Purdue without offensive coordinator. They have fired offensive coordinator Graham Harrell. Good luck, sir. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers expected to return when they come back from their bye week on October 12th against Oklahoma. Red River rivalry. So, and it's the first time Red River rivalry is in the SEC. So, UFL news: the Arlington Renegades re-signed running back Devin Darrington, linebacker Willie Taylor, and corner Jamar Summers. Solid players for Arlington there. NFL news: former Commanders kicker Brandon McManus not going to face any league discipline after the league determined there was insufficient evidence to support a finding that he violated the personal conduct policy. Free to sign with any team and is expected to sign with someone. I mean, there's some teams that saw some kicking woes this weekend. Those teams aren't probably going to be the ones that I think call him, but there are some other teams I think that don't have a great kicking situation. McManus is one of the best kickers in the league, I think, and should find a home rather quickly. IR, a couple guys getting placed on it. Jaguars linebacker Foye Aluakon and Bengals offensive tackle Trent Brown. I believe Trent Brown, his was the patellar tendon, I think, if I remember right. So he, I believe, is done for the year. Injuries. Raiders wide receiver Devontae Adams didn't play this week. He is listed as week to week with his hamstring injury. Good news for Cleveland, although I'm not picking them the rest of the season. Browns opening up the practice window for running back Nick Chubb. So he could potentially return as early as this week. Cowboys defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence. He has a Liz Frank injury, but luckily for him, doesn't need surgery. He's out 4 to 8 weeks, likely going to go on IR. Chiefs, big bad news for them. Wide receiver Rashee Rice, likely done for the year, torn ACL. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but that was the diagnosis that they thought. Good news for the Colts, running back Jonathan Taylor. He has a high ankle sprain, but they listed it as mild, so he might be able to play through it. Packers also got good news today. Wide receiver Christian Watson, high ankle sprain, not a fracture. Likely going to go on IR, though. Steelers, bad news for Pittsburgh. Guard James Daniels, he is done for the year. Torn Achilles. This is crazy. This is two now. 2 offensive linemen done for the year after Nate Herbig went down in the preseason as well. So getting thin on the O-line in Pittsburgh there. Broncos rookie running back Tyler Beatty. Scary situation. Got carted off in a backboard yesterday at MetLife. Luckily, though, was able to move all his extremities and stuff. And it does have a back injury, likely going to go on IR, but best case scenario after being carted off on a backboard. And, I mean, it just why can the Panthers not catch a break right now, bro? Panthers linebacker Shaq Thompson announced torn Achilles, done for the year. So they literally have no backbone. The only player they have, the only 2 players on defense they really have now, Josie Jewell, which they got from Denver in the offseason. He's still there. And J.C. Horn has been playing very good at corner, but we know he has an injury history. So wouldn't be shocked if J.C. Horn goes down at some point. And then Josie Jewell's just there. So I don't know how the Panthers are going to stop anyone defensively. I mean, no Shaq Thompson, no Derek Brown. They're going to play shootouts all year. For tonight's Dolphins, new starting quarterback in Miami, it is Tyler Snoop Huntley. He is going to get the start. Tim Boyle going to be the backup. Skylar Thompson inactive after getting injured last week. Lions, tight end Sam Laporta dealing with a high ankle sprain. He will play. Safety Brian Branch dealing with an illness. He is doubtful for Detroit. And for the Dolphins, running back Raheem Mostert dealing with a chest injury. He is not expected to play. He is officially out. And Amani Hooker got 8 stitches in his face tonight, apparently. for the Titans safety. He is going to play. Part of his face mask visor dislodged as he was making a tackle against the Packers last week. Lacerated face just below his eye. He is going to play tonight, though, but rotating in and out. Not starting or not normal workload, I believe. And I think, Brian Branch is officially inactive. Seahawks, no Lieutenant Nwosu, Jerome Baker, or Byron Murphy for them. And I know you want to say the baseball news, Jimmy.
Yeah, you probably just saw that too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll say
no Leonard Williams or Boye Mafe as well for Seattle. So shorthanded defensively. And then one signing to go in the NFL, the Falcons. They signed Cowboys linebacker Rashaan Evans to the practice squad. Had played with the Falcons before after getting released by the Titans, whom he was a first-round draft pick with. NFL pick standings here. Yeah, Logan's still leading the Monday show, 6-2. You are one back still. John, two back. I am floundering. I don't know what I'm doing on this show right now. I got my lone wolf lost pretty handily on Monday last week. I had the Jags in Buffalo. We all lost the Bengals on the other Monday night game, and then we all got the Cowboys right on Thursday. So we do have another lone wolf tonight, but not in this game. Titans at the Dolphins. I still don't know why the Dolphins are favored. Like, yes, they do still have all their weapons. Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, A-Chain, Jonnu Smith, like, they're all there, but I don't think Snoop Huntley, who I have been high on before, when he was in Baltimore, I was really high on him, but I don't think that they can do enough, or he can do enough to get the Dolphins to win, especially against Titans defense that I think is underrated. They've been playing pretty decent football this year, and they are like one Will Levis play every game away from being 3-0.
You just got to tell Will Levis to not play hero ball, and you're good.
Well, they need to run the ball. Like, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears have not been that impressive this year, I think. But yeah, we're all on the Titans. And it makes me sad because I really want the Titans to keep losing every single game this year. Just so I'm right. But it's okay. We can allow one win. They'll only get one more the rest of the year anyway. So it's cool.
It's called a mercy win.
Don't like that the win's going to come this early in the year, though, with me having them 2-15. Total's 37.5 here. I'm leaning on the under.
Yeah, this is going to be boring.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, potentially the Titans score enough on the Miami defense, but I don't know. I need Hop to score. Hop needs to score for me. That'd be nice. 7:30 p.m. in about 15 minutes on ESPN. Monday Night Football Part 2. Seahawks at the Lions. Jonathan Babington is being a homer.
Johnny, you dog.
He's being a homer. He's picking Seattle Seahawks on the road at Detroit. I just listed all those guys that they don't have on defense. Now they got to go up against a pretty good offense. Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery. Jameson Williams has been really good so far this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course. Sam Laporta. Hopefully he scores 25 points for me tonight in fantasy. That'd be nice. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop Seattle or if they're going to be able to stop Detroit. I do think Seattle has been really good offensively, so I think they're going to have a decent night there. But maybe that's how the Seahawks win. It's got to be in a shootout, I think, because I just don't think Seattle has the guys, especially up front, because most of those guys that I listed that are inactive are all D linemen or linebackers. So maybe the Lions just run the ball all night, and that's how they win. Possess the ball, run it. I don't know. What do you think of this game?
I just don't think the Seattle defense is enough. I think Detroit's just going to be too creative against them. I think Seattle's going to put up some points, but I think it's going to be like I'm going to say like 38-21. Like it's not going to be close, but both teams are going to get in the end zone.
I forgot to say there is a factor that we haven't talked about yet. Lions are wearing their black jerseys. The black uniforms I absolutely love.
They're garbage.
On them, but I like
them. They look awful. I don't know what to tell you. They're just bad looking.
Black jerseys, blue helmets. That's what they're wearing tonight. 46.5, Jimmy. So you like the over?
I like the over.
Okay, I'll do that for you. 8:15 on ABC and ESPN Plus. Thursday night we got a split.
Yeah, split.
And I don't know why it always happens like this. It's every time we split, this is how it happens.
Logan and I are just on the same brainwave, apparently.
John and I versus you and Logan.
It worked out last time. Ironically, last time it was with the Bucks.
Yeah, it hasn't worked for John and I. I think we have a losing record when we go up against you guys so far this year. Let me see here. What do we got? Okay, we didn't have any splits week 1. We didn't have any splits week 2 either.
Yeah, so this is the first week of splits. We almost had 2 last week, but I flipped back to the Vikings.
No, week 3. Week 3 we had one. But that was Jimmy and that was you and John. That was you and John. But yeah, this was the first week. So John and I are 0-1. But yeah, John and I are on the Bucks. We're taking Tampa's momentum into Atlanta. I haven't been that impressed, and I think the difference for me and the difference why I originally, or actually no, that was going on the Saints. Never mind. But I mean the Bucks have like I said, good momentum. They got the Mayfield to Evans connection. Bucky Irving's coming on, and I think it's going to be a really good game. But I think the Bucks eke one out in Atlanta. They're the better defense in my mind.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like the Falcons. I think they're going to take the momentum. They've won games, in my opinion, without having their offense at 100% in terms of efficiency. Like, especially this last week against the Saints, they just didn't look super efficient. And I don't know. After that loss to the Broncos, I don't know what I can think about the Buccaneers yet.
Well, they followed up by demolishing the Eagles.
Yeah, but even then, I feel like that just says more about the Eagles. Maybe after this week, it would change my mind if Buccaneers won, but I don't know. I think the Falcons just have, again, the home field advantage. I think it will also work in their favor.
Total's 43.5. I am leaning on the under.
Yeah, I agree.
8:15 Prime Video on Thursday. That's the show today. A little bit long, but I got 11 minutes till Monday night kicks off. First game, Titans, Dolphins. Next week, we do not have a Monday night doubleheader. Those are done. But we will cover the Monday night matchup. Saints at the Chiefs. What a boring game. And then we got the Thursday night matchup to start week 6. 49ers at the Seahawks. That's spicy. I like that. Hopefully John will be on for that one potentially. Anyways, don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast, Instagram and X. FAApodcast.com is our website. You check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We will see y'all back on Friday.